Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for this special half-hour 4th of July edition of Across the Fence. I'm Judy Simpson. With summer kicking into high gear, activity on Lake Champlain is picking up. Swimming, boating, and fishing are always at the top of the list, but this summer the University of Vermont is offering a unique experience on the lake. Starting later this month, you can climb aboard the university's research boat for an educational tour of the lake. UVM is offering several boat cruises that will focus on the lake's history, culture, and geology. And those on board will get a chance to participate in some hands-on lake science.
This summer, Lake Champlain Sea Grant and UVM Extension is hosting a series of public trips aboard the research vessel Melisira. These trips will take place in July and August, and there are two different strands, Stories of Lake Champlain and Lake Champlain Live. Each of these themes kind of touches on different kind of aspects of both water quality, but also ways of knowing and stories of Lake Champlain. And we're really hoping that through these trips we can get more folks connected with kind of what's happening in terms of water quality research and the work that UVM Extension is doing, but also in touch with the lake and out in the lake and kind of gaining a new perspective aboard the research vessel.
What should participants expect to see and learn on these trips?
While we're out on the Melisira, depending on the theme of the trip, so Lake Champlain Live is really focused on limnology, so the study of the lake, looking at vertical profiling and assessing some different water quality metrics. And Stories of the Lake is kind of more of a qualitative mix, looking at how do we understand Lake Champlain, what are the different ways of knowing, exploring some of the Abenaki culture and these different historical sites on the lake, and then also looking at some of the maritime history.
Will people have an opportunity to get hands-on either of the trips?
On both trips there will be opportunities to kind of use some of the equipment on the research vessel, to use the A-frame, send different pieces of equipment down, particularly on the Lake Champlain Live trip that's focused on limnology. Participants will get a chance to put down the CTD, which is a cool piece of equipment that allows us to get a vertical profile and some different metrics on the lake in about 90 seconds. And then we'll also be grabbing some samples while we're out there and actually running a couple tests on deck using a couple different pieces of equipment.
Is there anything that's always surprising to people who are getting out on the lake first time?
Yeah, I would say that probably one of the biggest highlights on the trip is once we get a bunch of information, we're able to look at the graph that the CTD makes, and it presents basically a vertical profile on the lake. So I feel like as recreators or swimmers or even depending on the type of fishing you're doing, you're really focused on kind of the top of the water column. And so to be able to see the temperatures at different depths, and especially when we're out in July and we're looking at some of the different temperatures, people are always so surprised to see the cold water at the bottom and that's actually not changing throughout the year, that's actually staying consistent. So I think being able to see those different metrics and how they line up is usually kind of interesting.
Who are the trips for?
So the trips, we're kind of gearing them towards the public, so families, individuals, anyone that is interested in going out on Lake Champlain. And it's a unique opportunity because the research vessel, throughout the academic year, we don't provide many public trips. In the summer, it's a little bit easier based on research schedules and the Melisira schedule. So we're able to kind of offer them to anyone that's interested in coming. And I think the only caveat is I think 8 years old is the youngest. But other than that, we usually get a lot of families that sign up together or groups that are here on vacation in Burlington and would like to go out on the Melisira.
And what we want to look at is the sample that gets captured in the very, very bottom.
Why is it important that UVM and its partners are offering this experience?
I think in alignment with UVM Extension's mission and extending the research of the university to the communities here in the basin in Vermont, it's very much in line with what Sea Grant is doing, and I think the ultimate goal is to get people out on the lake to learn about kind of what's happening and to have fun and enjoy this place that we call home. And conversely, we're hoping that people that are out on the trip take something away, even if it's, like, oh, maybe I'll think before I use a product that might contain microfilaments or microplastics, or just getting people to think a little bit more so that it just helps water quality here in the Lake Champlain Basin.
Is there anything else that people should know before they come on one of the trips?
I think what's really interesting to think about is it's a unique opportunity to get on the research vessel, certainly, but it also, depending on what level of recreation, it's phenomenal to be out on the lake in the summer and to be kind of pairing that with a little bit of learning around what's happening on the lake. And it's your best connection to know what's happening at the university, both in UVM Extension and the Rubenstein School of Environment and some of the outreach initiatives that are happening. So for folks that are potentially interested in water quality or maybe or just want to learn more, I think it's a unique opportunity that we have the research vessel for these educational outings.
For more information, check out the website uvm.edu/cgrant/events, or you can call 802-656-8504. Reservations are required and the boat cruises are limited to 20 passengers, so organizers are encouraging people to make reservations well in advance. There are 7 cruises in all. The first is set for July 24th and the final voyage is set for August 17th. Well, if your children or grandchildren are looking for something to do this summer, you might want to consider the UVM Extension 4-H program. Vermont 4-H serves thousands of young people all across the state from ages 5 to 18. There are special 4-H teen leadership programs, including the new Science Cafe program. Keith Silva tells us more.
Look at those bubbles.
Could be a kind of organic life.
If you were a teenager in the 50s or 60s, science fiction might have been the only way you learned about life on other planets.
In extreme environments.
For today's teens, science fiction is fast becoming science fact.
If we do find life somewhere else, we don't necessarily expect it to look like us.
This talk by ecologist Hilary Imick on astrobiology, the study of life on Earth and in space, is the first Vermont Teen 4-H Science Pathways Cafe. UVM Extension 4-H Teen and Leadership Specialist Lauren Traster coordinated the event.
This is a national effort. It started in New Mexico, and the folks there were so successful in what they were doing, they received a large grant to try to expand this idea across the U.S. So they have a goal of getting at least one teen science cafe in every state. So we are the first in Vermont.
The formula for these cafes goes like this. Take teenagers interested in math and science, add a scientist from the community, provide everyone with free pizza, and voila! You've got a way of learning that's relaxed and fun.
In school, it's very formal. It can turn a lot of students off. In science, when done informally and casually and just through conversation and interesting ideas and sharing cool research, the hope is that you're going to spark interest in our young people to understand that science is more than just a lab coat.
Liquid methane has a lot of the same properties as water.
I really like science in general, so when I heard about this, I thought this would be a really great way to get more involved in science. And
Isabel Petrucci is a junior at Essex High School. Getting to meet a real scientist is one of the reasons she came to the cafe.
Most kids, the only connection they have to science is through their teachers. And obviously they know a lot about science, but it's not the same thing as being an actual scientist and doing actual research and work. And so I think it's just going to be interesting for kids to see how exactly that works and just what they can do later on in the future.
The casual setting of the cafe makes complex ideas like life on other planets a little easier to understand. Hearing that message from a scientist who also happens to live nearby makes a world of difference to Lena Ashew.
Whereas when you can actually see what you can do within your state, like Vermont, you never think of NASA in Vermont or of these big science experiments happening in Vermont. But I think definitely through this cafe we can see that there are professions within the state, within science, that are really exciting and engaging.
Ashew is one of the members of the 4-H teen leadership team helping to facilitate this event. Unlike her, most of the teens in attendance aren't 4-H members, which reminds Ashew of how much 4-H has to offer to anyone and everyone.
Well, I think 4-H generally as an organization, a lot of people don't know that there are a lot of different parts of 4-H. I think the purpose of this Teen Science Cafe is to show people that there's a whole broad range of professions and expertise and different organizations that you can get involved in through 4-H.
Is the gas usually visible?
Well, you can see the bubbles that it forms.
In addition to their talk, each speaker provides the attendees with a hands-on experiment. The teens were asked to take a soil sample and add water. If their sample produced bubbles, it was viable and could support life. This hands-on opportunity is in line with the 4-H model of learning by doing.
Yeah, that's it.
Getting to learn hands-on about a topic she isn't studying in school is what Ellie Ramirez-Richer likes about this event.
I think it's more engaging to and it's something different than school. It's a subject we haven't gone over so far, which is okay at school, but I like to learn about other stuff other than just what we're learning at school, which is kind of nice. This gives you opportunity for that.
Traister believes giving these young people a chance to meet and talk with someone who has a job they might like to do one day has benefits far beyond this event.
A lot of times what happens is emails get exchanged, and that young person now has someone that they can actually contact and say, hey, I came and heard you speak, or you presented a workshop. I'm interested in this. Could you provide me some direction on, are there articles I can read, websites I can visit, Facebook pages? Is there a school or a college that offers a really good program in this? I think that is a tremendous benefit by connecting the professionals with our young people at the time that they're beginning to think about what path they want to take.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Discovering life on other planets is the next big leap for humankind. And who knows, maybe one of the teenagers at this Vermont Teen 4-H Science Pathways Cafe will help all of us take the first step. In Burlington, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
For more information on 4-H program opportunities in your area, go online to uvm.edu/extension and click on the link to 4-H. You can also call the 4-H state office at the toll-free number on your screen. That's 1-800-571-0668. Back in May, more than 200 of Vermont's most outstanding and talented 4-H'ers gathered in Barre for the annual 4-H State Day. There were illustrated talks, award-winning photographs, handmade quilts, and more. Rebecca Gollin was there along with the kids.
It's a day of teaching, sharing, and performing in Barre as 4-H members from around the state come together to present the projects they've been working on.
I did an illustrated talk today.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I did it on sugaring.
We did a demonstration about grooming skills, and we showed people how to properly groom their horse.
We are at 4-H State Day, which is a capstone experience for Vermont 4-H. It's a day where people come from all over the state to present many of their 4-H projects, things that don't always involve a lot of the larger animals that may not be happening at a show ring or a fair. So we're at a day, it's a lot of communications exhibits, a lot of visual presentations, and then the youth that are here have been selected from a county or regional level. They're presenting at a state level, and then in certain categories we're selecting participants to represent Vermont down at the Big E in Springfield, Massachusetts this summer.
There are informational posters and photography on display, along with public speaking and a wide variety of stage presentations. Some clubs present action exhibits, where members learn a new skill in order to teach it to others.
Today I was part of one of our action exhibits, which we did making bath fizzies, because we wanted to learn how to make them, because they're actually really expensive when you buy them in the store.
I asked them what they wanted to do. We tried to come up with ideas, and I threw that out, and they all thought it was a great idea.
Matt Crossman is a 4-H volunteer from Rutland County and a former 4-H member himself. He sees his club gaining teamwork and life skills, especially when they present their project to others.
They can be scented or they don't have to be in oil.
What does that do for their confidence?
I think it boosted a lot, being able to do that, talk to people, memorize directions and how to put things together.
For some participants, State Day is the chance to try something new.
I did a stage presentation, which I play the flute, and I wanted to play a pop song, so I learned the song Perfect by Ed Sheeran.
It's a safe space. It's an opportunity for kids who might be a little uncomfortable doing a visual presentation, getting up in front of an audience, even if it's a room full of 3 or 4 other people, and presenting themselves. So our youth can practice their composure, practice giving presentations and speeches, and really just sharing the love of what they're doing in 4-H with a broader audience.
While this day might give them a larger audience, these kids are no strangers to practicing.
We went over to each other's houses and we practiced, and sometimes we would stay in from recess and like do it in front of our teacher.
My goal is to continue learning sign language, about the deaf culture, and have sign language be my second language.
You watch me read it till I can't read. You have to practice a lot, because it takes a lot to be able to do it in front of people, because like I have slight stage fright. I shake really, really bad. And so you have to practice a lot. I've been doing stage presentations for 5 years because it started just something that I wanted to do, and then it was like, hey, you get to do something bigger than just play for a few people. You play for a lot of people, and then people notice you, and then they're like, hey, you did a really good job. And like, when you're just playing for a few people, it's like, okay. But when you're playing for a lot of people and people come up to you and they're like, yeah, you did really good, it's a really nice feeling.
The demonstrations and illustrated talks give the 4-Hers a chance to learn about a new topic and share that information in a variety of ways.
I had a tabletop, and that's just all of your props and stuff that you have to show. If you're just doing a public speaking, then you have note cards and you talk about it. Illustrated talk, you have all the stuff behind you, and then you demonstrate stuff.
What do you guys think you learned doing all of this?
I learned what the use of like some other brushes could be for like, because I thought the curry comb could be like for the face too, but it can't.
We learned much more about like what you would use the tools for, and I kind of learned like what it was like being here.
Well, yeah, and what was it like? I mean, there's a lot going on here.
It was nerve-wracking, but we did it.
I think we're both glad that we didn't have to do it in front of a bunch of people and just like the judges and a couple of parents.
It does help you with your public speaking skills to speak in front of an audience. So definitely if you're having to do a presentation in front of the class, that really helps me.
Along with the skills they're gaining, it's a chance to get together with clubs from around the state and meet new people.
You meet a lot of people that like you wouldn't meet, because you come to like state day and there's a lot of people, because it's not just your county. And when you meet the other people, you get friends. Like the first year I came to state day, I met a girl from Millbury. We've been best friends since. Like, she's my best friend.
Learning, sharing, and making new friends through 4-H. The participants here are ready for their next challenge.
I like that there's like whatever you want to do, it's in 4-H.
They make it seem easier to like go to shows and more comfortable. And I like that. They prepare us better.
Celebrating Vermont youth and their hard work at 4-H State Day. In Barrie, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
Our congratulations to all of the 4-Hers at the 2018 State Day. Parades and fireworks mark the 4th of July celebration, and perhaps an adult beverage as well. Vermont is well known for its craft beers, but what about a Vermont meadery? Across the Fence intern Joseph Couture has our story.
The process for making mead is insanely simple. Honey mixed with water, with yeast to turn it into alcohol.
Vermont is known for its selection of craft beer. Here at Groenfeld Meadery in Colchester, there is another type of craft beverage hitting Vermont shelves.
Mead is an alcoholic beverage made from honey. So beer starts with grain, cider starts with apples, wine, generally speaking, starts with grapes. Mead has to start with honey as the fermentable.
Ricky and his wife Kelly grew up in Delaware. They met at Middlebury College. They started Groenfeld Meadery about 5 years ago. They've been expanding their selection of mead as well as the services they offer ever since.
Things we've made, everything from beer to cider to sake to sauerkraut to cheese, anything. We like to play with that stuff. But professionally, we decided to go with mead, and it was partly because Vermont's beer scene was so full. There was so much good beer. We didn't think we needed to add to that. But we were seeing that as cider was picking up steam in Vermont, we saw that potentially people here could realize, oh, there's more than one craft beverage. There's not just beer, there's also cider, and maybe we can start to introduce mead.
So a lot of people have, if they have any thoughts about mead in the back of their minds, they think Vikings. A lot of people think Robin Hood. It does show up in Beowulf. It also shows up in The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and it is the national beverage of Ethiopia. It is the oldest known fermented beverage in China. Anywhere that people had apiaries, access to honey, they have made mead. And part of that is the simplicity. Honey plus water plus yeast. It was the purest sugar source that most people knew.
Mead has a rich past. Ricky and Kelly are bringing it back with some Vermont style.
So the question of where we fit in the craft world is an open question. We actually have two different brands we brew out of here. We're very open about that fact. I am currently the head brewer for both, though I am handing one of them off to my current assistant brewer. But we have Groenfeld Mead, which is our original one, and Havoc Mead. There are differences between the two brands. Mostly Groenfeld are classic recipes, historical recipes, and Havoc I get to do whatever the heck I want. But since there was no competition, no one knew where to put us. So we helped create the mead shelf that now other meaderies can come and join.
While mead may be made with honey, what the Kleins produce isn't always sweet.
So what we make is different from a lot of the other mead on the market. We make a craft mead, so it comes in cans, which look like your beer or your cider. It's got a little bit of light carbonation. It has beer cider strength as far as the alcohol content goes, and it's not sweet. A lot of mead on the market is very sweet. People think honey, they think sweet, but of course your wines don't have to be sweet, even though grape juice is sweet.
Mead isn't the only taste of Nordic culture on tap here. There's also a full menu to feed your inner Viking.
Part of the thing too is just sitting and drinking is not actually how we wanted people to experience our mead. We wanted to have food. We wanted to have a full experience of community coming together, enjoying a meal together. There's something about that that's not simply about alcohol or even about getting calories into your body. There's something that is much more meaningful and enjoyable about sitting down with people. And the Scandinavian-inspired food we have, we try to use only Viking-era ingredients just to keep it fun, really works well with our product, bringing this idea of feasting, which we feel like mead is a perfect drink for. A lot of people have been coming here specifically because of the food and not because they have a particular interest in the mead we make, and so that's been really neat too. We feel like we're providing something that you can't get anywhere else.
But mead is something that is special in people's minds, and I don't think it will ever go away. It is a beverage that is meant for feasting, and that's not really an experience most people have anymore. So as our culture turns back towards each other, which I see coming as people jump off of Facebook and start looking at each other again, I think mead will actually have a place pre-built in, steins of it, horns of it, around a big table or a fire.
Half a decade in, Groenfeld Mead has found its place in Vermont's craft beverage landscape.
So I think that the fact that I didn't know a lot of things and I learned from trial and error that's where I am and that's how I got here. And if I knew even a little bit more about what I was in for, I think I would have gotten scared and balked. So I'm glad that I didn't know, and I'm glad that it gave me, a false bravery to actually just go ahead and do something, and I'm really glad that I have done that.
Mead is something that's still open for you to write your own story around, and I think a lot of people should take that advantage because it doesn't come around very often.
An ancient beverage in a new setting. So heed your inner Viking and raise a stein to mead. In Colchester, I'm Joseph Couture with Across the Fence.
There is one other meadery in Vermont. It's located in Groton, and it's also owned and operated by a husband and wife team. Today's holiday is a time for family and fun. Unfortunately, accidents do happen, and one of the most dangerous situations is fire. A fire extinguisher is a life-saving tool, but only if you know how to use it properly. We asked the UVM Fire Marshal for a demonstration.
Hi, I'm John Marcus, the Fire Marshal at the University of Vermont. I'm a certified fire protection specialist, and I was a full-time firefighter for 21 years. Today I'm going to demonstrate the proper use of a portable fire extinguisher. Before I actually demonstrate the extinguisher, there are a few things that I need to tell you. Whenever there's a fire, you need to call for help first. Even if you think you can extinguish the fire, call for help, notify occupants in the area, pull the building fire alarm, call your emergency number to make sure that the fire department is on the way. Then you can attempt to fight the fire. A portable fire extinguisher is only for small fires. It will not put out a room full of fire. It's for fires in the incipient stage, a cardboard box, a recycling bin, a trash can, something small that is not spread to other objects in the room. You also need to be sure to leave yourself a safe way out before you use the extinguisher. Make sure that you have a clear exit available just in case things don't go as planned. There are different types of fire extinguishers. Be familiar with the fire extinguishers in your area. There are several classes of fire. A Class A fire is ordinary combustibles such as wood, paper, textiles, cardboard. Class B fires are flammable liquids or solvents such as fuels, gasoline, oils. Class C fires involved energized electrical equipment, basically anything that is plugged into a power source. And Class D fires are flammable metals or combustible metals. These are fairly rare, but they are found in manufacturing and in chemical laboratories. Class K fires are kitchen fires, which involve deep frying of grease. And now we're ready to talk about how to use the fire extinguisher. There are 4 steps involved in using the fire extinguisher, and we use 4 letters to remember them. We use the letters PASS, P-A-S-S. The P is for pull. You need to pull this safety pin out before the fire extinguisher will operate. The A is for aim. You remove the nozzle and aim at the base of the flames. You must aim at the base of the fire. If you aim at the flames, the extinguishing agent will pass through the flames and land harmlessly on the other side. The first S is for squeeze. You squeeze the handles together to discharge the agent. And the last S is for sweep. You sweep from side to side until the fire is completely out. PASS. In this demonstration, we will be using water to extinguish the fire. Typically, multi-purpose fire extinguishers have a dry chemical agent, which comes out in a fine powder much like water. And now we're ready to do the demonstration. And that's how to safely and effectively use a fire extinguisher.
Our thanks to UVM Fire Marshal John Marcus for his expertise, and our thanks to you for joining us. From all of us at Across the Fence and WCAX-TV, have a fun and safe 4th of July. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.